What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Wagon Pullers. Appreciate you guys tapping in. We are on episode 7 today. And today I'm going to talk about something, probably one of the most important topics that we will ever talk about as a man, which is what it means to be a father. So whether you're a father out there, whether you're a wife listening, a single person, I think that this is going to have an impact on you because we've all been fathered. We've all had a father. And after having the last 2 episodes has been my boys on here. I thought it was important today to come in and talk about what I'm learning in this season of fatherhood, like being a father, hearing some of the things that my boys said in the last 2 episodes, taking that and framing that into what I've been learning in this season. I want to just share it with you guys today, and hopefully you guys are going to have something that you can pull from that will encourage you and empower you. So if you haven't listened to all the episodes, I think today would still resonate with you, but so far the way this podcast is going is I'm pretty much laying out a story. So I would encourage you to go back and tap into the other episodes, which will really bring more life to this one. So as I start, I was thinking about how I was fathered. I brought you guys into some of that because how I was fathered and how all of you have been fathered is what shapes, you dads out there, it's what shapes how we approach fatherhood, good or bad. So as I was sitting with this, I was thinking about what was an experience that I had that really impacted me as a son and had a really damaging effect on how I was being fathered. And it was at 13 years old. It was when I was 13 years old. My dad was typically gone a lot from when I was at a younger age because he traveled a lot. So he'd be gone for 2-3 weeks at a time. And I've touched base on this in other episodes, but when I was in this Christian elementary school in Texas, and I suffered some physical abuse there in the form of like punishment and discipline. And when we would have this discipline at the school and you got in trouble, they would pin what they called a blue slip to your shirt. So, I'm talking like 1st and 2nd grade, just to bring you guys into this. So if you got in trouble, you'd have a blue slip pinned to your shirt, and then you're standing outside the school in the parking lot in the pickup line with a blue slip pinned to your shirt. So every parent, every kid knows like that you got busted. So I had developed this massive shame piece. Of course, not realizing it. I'm a 1st grader. Just standing there, I can like vividly remember standing in those parking lots, just like, yeah, I got busted. And any kid that went to that school like knew what the punishment was like there, so it was even more of an embarrassment. And so I'd get in the car, and my mom would just tell me how, you're embarrassing the family, and this isn't who we are, and, God, blah, 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 like kind of beat me up with some scriptures. So I want to say this when I'm talking about this. Any of you out there that is tapped in this podcast that has had a bad experience with religion, Christianity, faith, I want you to know I have a ton of empathy for you. But I also want you to know there's hope to find a real God in the midst of whatever you've gone through. And do not lose sight of that. Those that are following along, because when you hear some of these, things that I went through, it gave me, and it would give anybody, every reason to hate God, because these were people that said they loved God, represented him, and they had their own brokenness, that was negatively impacting me. But, as I've gotten older, I've been able to separate that out. So it was during that season I started to really learn shame, and like, oh, I'm bad, and it was the whole concept of like, you're a bad boy, and then you try to do things to like be a good boy. It's like, oh, I'm good, right? Now I'm good. Oh no, I was bad. It's just like, there was no concept of like, hey, I got some issues and somebody needs to lean in and like help me land on why I'm acting out. It was just like, you're being bad. We need to get you to be good. So, to tie this in, one thing my mom would tell me in the car on the ride home from school, having the blue slip on my shirt, she would say all these things. And then to top it off, my dad would be out of town, and she'd say, hey, when your dad gets home, he's going to spank you. And I'm like, in my mind thinking, all right, he's gone for 2 more weeks. So now it's not like you can get, the abuse that was happening there, kind of compartmentalize, tuck it away, and then like move on. It's like, all right, now I got to wait for my dad to get home that I already missed because he's gone. But now I don't want him to come home because when he comes home, I'm going to get spanked from something I did 2 weeks ago. It's just like a mental F, if you know what I mean. So that just developed such a whacked perspective in me towards like my relationship with my father, because it was like this mixture between like, I miss him because he's gone, and when he comes back, he typically will take me places, like he'll let me go down to his work and clean some stuff, or like he'll let me go when he plays racquetball and I get to watch, and then at the end of racquetball he lets me go in and hit a couple balls, like just those pieces of being a kid. But it just took me into such a conflict, because it's like, all right, I don't want him to come home now, because I'm going to get spanked for something I already pretty much got like physically abused in the form of discipline for. And so I think I could say that I just never felt safe, if I could like name it now. It's like, it's just like not a safe feeling, and kind of never knowing where you stand. So that was pretty much the dynamic of like, my elementary years coming into junior high. But a significant thing that happened was at 13, when there was a really unique shift in the way I viewed my dad fathering me. And I had begged my dad for years. Like we grew up, I grew up in East Texas, so I had begged him for years. Like I wanted a 4-wheeler so bad, and my parents didn't really have extra money for something like that. But I was probably so obnoxious in asking. And then I also had a job at the time at 13. My dad used to take me to a pool store in Tyler, Texas, and I would mow the lawn at the pool store, the front and the back, and I'd do all the weeding. He'd take me every Thursday. And so at 13, I was working. And then outside of that, I would go around the neighborhood and rake people's leaves and try to hustle up some money. So I think he saw that piece in me, you know, that I was working and trying to make money. Obviously not to the point where I could buy my own four-wheeler, but I think a good piece in my dad, he had a gnarly work ethic. That's one thing that, you know, he was incredible at. So I think he respected that. So my 13th birthday, he takes me into town. I do the yards at the pool store, and he's like, "Hey, we're gonna go across town to the four-wheeler store and just kind of look around." I'm like jacked, excited, right? Like, "Oh, let's go." We walk in, and there was a four-wheeler up front that had like "Happy Birthday," and it is my birthday. Had like "Happy Birthday" ribbons and balloons on it, and this is funny. I so wasn't expecting that he was actually going to buy me a four-wheeler. I saw it and I was like, "Oh, that's a cool display." And I walked right past it and like started looking at other things. And my parents were like, "Hey, that's your present over there." And so it was a little delayed reaction, but you know, they got me a four-wheeler and it was pretty magical. And he's like, "Hey, I'm going to take you camping." And my dad had never taken me camping, like one-on-one. And, so I'm excited, got my new four-wheeler. He takes me to this campground in East Texas, and, you know, any of you out there listening that know anything about East Texas, like, it's thick woods. I mean, like, Matt's, like, tapping his chest. It's thick woods, like hundreds and thousands of acres, and everything looks the same once you get out in the pine trees. And so he takes me in this campground and sets up camp, you know, gets me on my four-wheeler, and I knew how to ride because I would always go to one of our neighbors and drive him crazy to borrow his. So, you know, get on the four-wheeler. He's like, "Take off, go ride, have fun." This is like mid-afternoon. So I take off. I'd never been there before. I get lost. I mean, I get really lost, and it gets so bad. I've been out there hours and hours and hours riding around. And I would ride to a certain location and stop, turn off my four-wheeler, take my helmet off, and I'd freaking scream at the top of my lungs, "Dad, Dad," you know, obviously hoping he's going to hear me. And I did that for hours till like my voice was pretty much gone. And I'm like, dang it, it's about to get dark. And I remember praying. And this is what's so cool. It's like, can you guys think of times in your life, you know, you get in situations like that. I just think it's so beautiful how something in you wants to talk to, whether you want to say higher power, but something in you is like, I need to connect with something bigger than myself. I need to connect with a power source like greater than I have the ability to tap into on my own right now. And so I just love looking back on those moments that like, it was just in me to cry out to God, you know, just like it's been in you guys in those moments. You know, how many stories do you hear of people like, "Yeah, I got in a car wreck," or "I got this happen," and I just prayed, and I had never prayed before, you know, and it's usually those prayers are like, "God, get me out of this. I'll never do it again." But this prayer was like, "God, you get me back to that campground." And, man, I swear like an angel like guided me out because it was almost like instantly. Like I took this path and all of a sudden it broke out into the clearing where the campground was. And it's dusk. And before I share, you know, what happened, like, you know, for years I minimized this because I would hear stories of like people that grew up and like their dad would take them in the bedroom and beat the crap out of them and punch them and, you know, do like awful things physically. And I used to think like, man, this is like nothing compared to that, you know? And now as it like, you know, 49-year-old adult with 4 kids, I'm like, man, there's times like I almost wish I would have got hit because the abandonment, like, I don't know which hurts more. You know? So I remember riding up and come into this experience with me right now You know, think about it. You're 13, you've been lost majority of the day, freaking out. Your voice is gone. You're riding up to camp. Of course, I'm thinking, my dad should be like in a panic, right? Like, I've been gone for hours and hours. So I'm thinking he's going to meet me with the same kind of energy. Like, oh my God, like there you are, like where you've been. I've been looking all over for you. Wasn't like that. I pulled up. My dad had a 71 C10. He had it my whole life up to about 2 years ago when he totaled it. And he has the doors open and he has like Christian music, like blaring, like obnoxiously loud. And I pull up and I'm just like, he has no clue I've been gone. So I'm not at 13 automatically thinking, oh, he's drunk, you know, or what. I'm just clueless of like how, you know, I'm telling him I've been gone and he's just, and then I said, hey, why is the music so loud? Like, turn the music down so I can talk to you. Like, I've been lost. And he starts yelling at me, telling me that I'm embarrassed of God because I want him to turn the music down. And which is just crazy, right? And so he finally turns the music down and just this dysfunctional, combative conversation. And I don't remember all the details of it, but just like totally gaslighted me and had no idea that I'd been gone. And I remember laying down in the tent sleeping and like smelling like strong alcohol. And looking back, I didn't like connect the dots at the time, but looking back and I'm like, dude, my dad sent me off on that four-wheeler, a place I'd never been. The dude gets hammered in the campground and has no idea that I'm gone. So again, looking back, and the reason why I say looking back, because it's not like at 13 I was like, oh, I'm shifting in my perspective as a kid. Like, I didn't realize this is what shifted inside of me without even my conscious mind going, oh, he's not my dad anymore, or like he's not protecting me. It's like internally, like I pivoted away from his protection and his covering, and something in me shifted. And if I could summarize it, it was like, you're on your own. And I look back and I'm like, I changed that day because something in me realized, like, dude, I was lost and he had no idea that I was gone. And so I'm on my own and no one's coming to save me. And I see that slogan floating around on social media, like motivational guys who use it, like, no one's coming to save me. And man, it kind of makes me shudder a little bit inside because I'm like, I know what that's like. Like, no one's coming to save you. Like, no one's coming to look for you. No one's protecting you. No one's helping you. And it turned into all these inner, like vows I made inside of like, all right, I'm on my own. And it wasn't within a year, and I won't go into this because I don't want to take too much time. I just want to bring you guys in to the shift when I stopped being fathered. It was within a year that I actually, my dad got drunk and drove me into town, and he was like swerving off the road and like almost ran the truck into a ditch with me in it. And like that led into us coming back to the house and me like looking around like something's going on. Like, dad has, like, he's drinking. And that's when everything came out that my dad had been an alcoholic since I was little and he had been hiding it. And so that's when everything came out, and he got fired from his job because he worked for an evangelist. And it's like, you ain't going to be an alcoholic driving a bus for an evangelist that is traveling with Billy Graham. Like, that's just not going to happen. So the guy, you know, he lost his job and they didn't treat him right. You know, there was some pieces in that, but that's when we had to move to Oregon and everything just unraveled. And if you tap into episode 2, like, that's where I share my testimony. And, but it was that day that I realized my dad is positionally fathering me. Like, I'm not on the street. You know, he's putting a roof over my head and he's providing food. Outside of that, he's not providing anything. Like, if I'm lost, he ain't looking for me. He's more concerned with his alcohol problem. He's not tapped in with me. He has no idea how I'm doing. We've never had a serious conversation. And to this day, like, me and my dad just have never had an in-depth conversation. He just has no capacity to go there. And for those of you that haven't heard me say this in other episodes, this is not a rag out my pops session. This is just to tell the truth. And it's the same reason I sat with my boys and I let them be honest and I made space for it, because that's the truth. That's the truth. And in our insecurities, a lot of times we can hear the truth and it can like hurt our feelings, and then we miss the peace in it that is actually sent to empower us. Like, the truth can be very empowering if we can sit with it. So that all I'm doing when I share these stories is just saying the truth of a dynamic, so I can bring you guys into this story to help you find your healing peace. So, or just, encourage you on the journey that you're already on. So that's when I shifted. So having that, and then fast forward to when I started dating Angela, which is my wife. She had a 2-year-old, which is, now my stepson, Tristan, and he's 29 now. So he was 2 when she dated. So this is really what the basis of this talk today is, like, how our experiences, especially you fathers out there, how our experiences with our dad has really shaped how we're fathering now, good or bad. And if we could be brave enough to get curious, to see what wind, so to speak, is blowing our sail. Like, what is that? What is behind our actions, good and bad? And be daring enough to be curious about it so that we could change. So when I get together with Angela, she has a 2-year-old. I come into that relationship and I'm like, I'm instantly a dad. And I have no idea what to do. It's almost like, oh, there's this cute little kid. Like, I'll play with him, take him to the park. Like, I don't know. But one thing I did know is that I wanted it. And so I was like, I wanted to be with my wife. I was willing to, like she has a kid. It's like, I want this, and I'm going to figure out what it looks like. And it's so crazy how life works. Like, being a man that had no idea how to father, like, I didn't be, not having it modeled to me in all these other areas. Like, I come into being a father, and the strongest piece I have is work ethic, which is what my dad taught me. That's the strongest and pretty much the only piece I have is, like, a very strong work ethic. So it's crazy. I come into fatherhood, or I come into, I get married, and then within a year we have Colby. 13 months later we have Corey. 2 years later we have Jeremy. I'm 27 and I have 4 kids. And I'm just like, oh God, you're funny. Like, I have no idea what I'm doing. Like, I genuinely was like, I have no tools to be a father other than I know how to work. I know how to work hard. And I know how to take care of a family provisionally. So that was my default, is just, I will go to work and I will work as hard as I can, and I will let my wife stay home, and I'll provide for them, and I'll take care of my family. And, from the outside, it looked very admirable. And I was saying this with Matt before we started this. It's like, before we started this talk today, when your kids are little, and those of you out there with, like, young kids, you can get away with a lot of this. Like, you can work hard, come home, play with them a little bit, check out on your phone, check out with some whiskey, whatever your thing is, whatever your evening routine is, you can get away with it when they're little because they're not paying attention. You know, as long as dad's home, like you're okay. You know, where it gets dicey is that when your kids get a little older and all of a sudden they don't need your presence in the room. They need your presence. They need you to be present with them. They need you to know how to say, how are you? How are you, honey? Like, how are you, son? What's going on? You seem down. Like actually have some kind of emotional intellect where you can like tap in and bring that part of fatherhood, which if you heard my boys, it's like all they said in those last 2 episodes is like, we feel safe now. And these aren't soft kids. Like, you know, my boys, like, these are gritty boys. These aren't like little weak, like, yeah, I didn't feel safe. It's like, no, I didn't feel safe emotionally. So I was detached from you, Dad. So what I want to do today, guys, is I got 6 points written out here on my notes. I just want to touch on each of them to the best of my ability, give you like a quick unpack on each one, and leave you guys with some tools of what I'm learning in this season about being a father. I've been a father now for, 27 years because Tristan's 29, so 27 years. And then Colby's about to be 24, so he's my firstborn with Angela, so 24 years with him. So, and I'd probably say it's only within these last couple of years that these pieces are really coming together, and I can like, I have all these puzzle pieces, and I actually have something that I can look at and be like, this is what I'm learning. And the reason why I want to do this episode is I feel like it's so empowering to hand this to whoever out there that maybe your wife's pregnant and you're about to be a dad and you're scared to death because you might not have tools and your dad maybe not have left you with the best model of what a father is. Or maybe you have kids and you're in that same scenario of they're getting older and you don't know how to connect with them. And so let me bring you guys into this. So the first one is ownership over perfection. Kids don't need a perfect dad. They need a present one who owns his mistakes. If you listen to those episodes of Corey and Colby, like the main thing that stood out to them, and when I do bring my other boys, you're going to hear a very similar approach, is that they just wanted me to take ownership. Your kids, I think we think they aren't paying attention and they're not noticing, but they are. So we want to take ownership, and I'm learning to pride myself in ownership over trying to be perfect. I'm taking more pride in making a mistake and coming back and owning that with my kids rather than putting on this facade to them that I have it all squared away. Because especially all my boys being over 20 now, they clearly see it when I'm not doing things right. But man, you can get so ahead of it if your kids are younger and you practice ownership and not allow fear to keep you afraid that ownership is going to cost you respect. Like thinking, if I come back and own this and let them know I have a weakness in this area, and hey, son or daughter, like dad's working on this, and I'm sorry I didn't handle that right. And I'm working on that, and I want to get better with that. Just that simplicity is so empowering, and please do not minimize that. There's so many simple little principles I'm just going to touch on in this talk that are not profound, but they're overlooked, and they're so powerful. So ownership. I'm in a season right now where I'm literally, it's not that I'm picking on myself, but somebody told me last week, they're like, hey man, the guy that tells on himself wins. And what that means is like, I want to be, or I'm in a place currently where it's like, I want to take such thorough inventory of my actions that I'm going to come back to my kids before they even have to come to me. Before I even lose a little piece of them and they kind of shut down a little bit. And when my boys were younger and I didn't have these tools, when I would feel them pull away, especially like 12, 13, 14, when they're like, I'm cool, you're not cool, Dad. I was so insecure, and deep down I knew I didn't have the tools and I wasn't doing the work to get the tools and learn. I was just accepting that version of myself and just hiding in my strengths. It's like my insecurity would cause me to like almost gaslight my kids, like, well, you just have a bad attitude, or you're just talking to me wrong, or you're not responding right. And I'm not excusing my kids' behavior when they would do that, but as the father, it's like I'm learning, like I had such a responsibility. I wish I could go back, and I'm not saying like regret wise, but I just wish I could go back and like have these tools then, where when they did respond to me negatively, instead of me just coming right into the authority piece, actually have a better approach and be like, hey, what's up? What's going on? Like, why are you upset? Why are you responding like that? And come in with some humility, so I set the table, so to speak, for a better conversation, where then maybe they'd open up and say, well, it's like this happened yesterday, and you know, yeah, Dad, I'm sorry I snapped at you. Like, I'm pissed off somebody made fun of me at school, or this is going on in class, or like I failed this, whatever. It's like having that tool to like stay connected with my kid's heart and not just put that responsibility on my wife. Like, oh, that's the wife's job. Like, the wife is the one that connects with the kids emotionally. I just go over here and provide physically for them. It's like, oh man, we're missing it if we think like that. We're genuinely missing it. So ownership over perfection, because no one's going to be perfect. You're not going to do it perfect. But what you can do perfect is have extreme ownership. So for dads that like to have some kind of control, let me encourage you. You know what the best control is? Self-control. Self-control, where I can choose to take ownership rather than pretend I'm not having those struggles and that it's not affecting my kids, and just pride myself in my accomplishments and what I am doing for them, or that I'm a better version than what my dad was. I mean, that's a classic one that I would think that my thinking, where my thinking was at, is like, oh man, if you guys knew how good you had it, like you should see how I grew up. It's just total gaslighting. It's like, it's minimizing the impact of my pain and my brokenness on my children, because I'm comparing it. Well, at least it's not this bad. And for me, that's just a cop-out. So ownership over perfection. The second thing is that I'm learning is modeling it over mentoring. You know, there's something in me that so wants to like I've always known what's right in my fatherhood. Like, I could sit my boys down and have the talk as far as like if something was popping off at school and like it got to the point where like my wife's like, you need to talk to them. Like, I could sit down and I could have that conversation and like mentor them and like, this is what you need to do and blah, 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 blah. But, you know, in this season, I'm actually modeling it. Like I'm walking it out, and I'm only able to walk out what I want them to be because I am taking ownership. So you'll see how all these principles tie into each other. So my ability to take ownership is empowering my ability to model it to my kids. So if I'm stuck in this perfection thing, it's like, as soon as I blow it on this journey to improve myself as a father, shame's going to smack me. But what I'm learning is that there's a difference between guilt and shame. See, guilt is what tells us when we did something wrong, we didn't handle something right, guilt is this beautiful smoke alarm, so to speak, that goes off and is like, hey, you didn't do that right, which encourages you, or it actually gives you the opportunity to realize you didn't do something right so that you can therefore correct it. So guilt is a beautiful thing to feel. Like without guilt, we just do whatever. I mean, you see people, you say it's like, he don't even have a guilty conscience. It's like when you lose that guilt piece, that's when you just you're basically turning into a narcissist. You just acting however you want and you're oblivious of how your actions. I know people in my life right now, it's like not a judgment statement, but they're just oblivious to how their actions are literally eroding the core of their kids and their wife. Oblivious. Because the longer we stay stuck in something and ignore it, the guilt goes away. It just becomes normal. So what we want to feel guilty, but we don't want to feel shameful. So I know that was a little rabbit trail, but I feel like that really ties into this principle, because when I'm on my path, again, when I'm on my path of ownership and I'm wanting to walk the walk and really model what I'm trying to teach my kids, I'm going to blow it. So guilt causes me to correct it. Shame, on the other hand, is our enemy. Shame will actually say, you blew it. You're never going to get it right. You're never going to change. You might as well stop your effort and just go back to your patterns. And anytime I move into shame as a man, there's always going to be casualties around me. Obviously not physically, but there's going to be emotional and mental casualties with the people that are close to me. Because as a man, as soon as I get into shame, I'm going to have to overcompensate somehow to get myself out of that shame feeling. It's such, when Colby, in that episode, when Colby towards the end, when my son Colby said, and I said, hey, what's different now between me and you? And he said, Dad, you're doing what you said you were going to do. I don't think I've heard a better thing in my life. I mean, especially after the mistakes I've made. And I hope you're so encouraged today to just, it's not about the mistakes. It's about what we do after. It's about how do we correct things? How do we improve ourselves? How do we step into a place where we don't give up and we don't say it's too late? I mean, I'm almost 50. It's like, it's not too late. It's never too late. But it's such a cool place to be in. And I don't say that like I'm comfortable or I've arrived, but it was just such a beautiful thing to hear from him. Like, Dad, you're doing what you said you're going to do. And guys, behind the scenes, that includes even taking ownership. Because although I'm not having like big hiccup mistakes anymore in my life, thank God, it's like I do miss the mark. I might not handle something right. It's like, man, I will come back immediately and be like, hey, I apologize that I responded like that. And then we can move forward. Third thing is legacy over lifestyle. Legacy over lifestyle. I had a mentality, when my kids were little, of I'm going to work hard. I'm going to buy them. They want a dirt. Colby wants to go racing. I'm going to get the dirt bike. Tristan wants to play the drums. When he was like 4, I'm buying him a drum set. I'm going to do an extra job. I'm going to buy him the drum set. Corey, you want to play football? I didn't really know anything about football. I tried to play my freshman year. I sucked. I was good at tennis, which is kind of embarrassing. No offense to tennis players out there, but I was like, that's crazy. My kids are like little jocks. And I was like, I kind of missed that piece. But point being, I was going to support what they wanted to do, and I was going to work hard and make it happen. And so I took a lot of pride in providing them the lifestyle. And please hear me out on this. I'm not taking anything away from that I did that. I think that's an awesome thing. I think that is part of being a father, is providing a lifestyle, like facilitating things that are important to your kids. But when that becomes the stopping point, or when that becomes the pride point where we start dismissing all these other responsibilities that we have as a father, that's when it starts to become a problem. You know, and it's hurting our kids, because what I have learned, and you take this for what it's worth, but what I've learned and what I'm learning right now is that my boys, they're more impacted by the work I've been doing on myself and this version of myself that I'm becoming than buying them something or facilitating, you know, something that was important to them in sports. It's like, because those are like, I think, temporary emotions they provide my boys. But like when I really sit back and look at it, like how the man that I'm building myself into and my inner man by like dealing with my pain, dealing with my past, like doing all the work it takes to like have like inner healing, it is impacting my boys far more than anything we did lifestyle wise, because this is creating legacy. Because finances can change, jobs can change, and it's like, oh, we can't afford that anymore. All that stuff can change. But man, if we prioritize ourselves and like, I want to give my kids legacy. And legacy is really defined by who I become as a man, who I become as the father, emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually. And just me walking in that as a man, what that will hand my kids legacy-wise, like the world can't take that piece away. It can't take that away. And that's what's so beautiful, is that the world can take so many things away from you. Like so many things can change. You know, like what I've built with Shine Supply, like it could, you know, God forbid the building burn down tomorrow or whatever happens. It's like things can drastically change. And if I pride myself in this lifestyle and that like, oh, I'm the dad, like, because I get my kids all this stuff and then they see me have the car and we have the boat and we have this, and it's like, dude, we have that stuff, and that's not what's done it for my kids. You know, what's made them feel safe is like, Dad, you worked on yourself, and like you're healthy, like you think right now, like you listen to us, you're providing stuff for us emotionally now that you didn't before, because you're doing it for yourself. So legacy over lifestyle, like let's create a legacy. The fourth thing is be a safe harbor. You know, we're not going to be able to protect our kids from the storms, but like we can be a safe place for them to run to when life gets hard. And I'll tell you, I can't say it enough. If you're listening and your kids are young, this is such an awesome window. But if they're older, like you can still go back and repair it. But especially if they're young, like I'm not talking about safety like a roof over their heads, or like if you walk down a dark alley, like and somebody tries to do something crazy, like you're going to be the one that steps up to the plate. Like, I'll be honest, I'm that dad. Like, I'm going to protect my kids. I'm going to protect my family physically. But it's like I had no ability to provide protection for them emotionally. And I don't even know if it was really on my radar. And so what I'm learning is like, man, my dad's dad never told him he loved him. My dad had zero capacity for emotions with me. I see how that left me feeling. But I'm a Gen Xer. I believe this is the generation where some of us are starting to wake up and realize, like, wait a second, we can break the cycle. Like, I don't have to judge my dad, and I don't have to live in anger for him, towards him, but I can forgive him, which I have, and I can say the best way I can actually honor him, because I do carry his last name, is break the cycle and learn what he didn't learn, which maybe there wasn't even really the tools. Like this kind of talk wasn't, it was so foreign then. I don't know, probably hardly anyone was talking about this. Emotions or feelings. It's like, what? I mean, as a man, it's like, huh? And so now we're in this generation where you have the younger generation maybe leaning too heavy on the emotions and not understanding like some of these heavy responsibility pieces. But I'm like, how can we find this balance between like not way heavy in the emotions, but like be emotionally intelligent as men, as fathers, so that we can hand our kids some stability in that area, and that when our kids' backs are up against the wall with life, we're not going to them and going, why didn't you come and talk to me? When we find out they went to this person or that person. Man, guys, like, I don't know about you, but when I've asked myself that question, it's like, I know why they didn't come talk to me, because I'm not safe. Like, they see my limited capacity. They see me blow up at work for this or come home all stressed out because some stuff happened at work. Like, they see my roller coaster emotionally. You think they feel safe to come to me and say, hey, Dad, let me talk to you about a breakup I just went through, or this is going on? Like, no. And for me to not preach at everybody, it's like, for me, it's like I wasn't okay with that anymore. It's like, I don't want my kids to just go to their mom, because my wife's going to have her own unique, beautiful piece as a woman. But I've realized, like, man, I have this piece as a man to be manly and connect with my boys emotionally. And it's badass. Excuse my language. It's like, it's like powerful. And I've seen how it's improving their personal lives. It's the farthest thing from weakness. Like, for me, it's like I was being weak when I was avoiding this. Like, that was weak, because when I layer it all back, it's like I was scared. I was afraid to deal with my shit. So then I was not a safe person. And then I'm over here looking at my kids like, oh, why are you always talking to your mom? Why don't you come to your dad? It's like, because you're not safe. Like, it's the best feeling in the world to be earning that place with my boys as they're adults now, and they'll come to me and talk to me about something. It's one of the best feelings in the world. Okay? So you become a safe place by us creating a safe place within ourselves. A lot of men out there, like, you're not even safe within yourself. That's why we have to check out with vices, because we got to get out of ourselves. But it's so awesome to start doing the work and then suffer through the work and start to break into a season where the work is rewarding you and you're changing and you're getting equipped and you're learning, and you come back into these relationships and you see the positive effect it's having on these people's lives that you love more than life itself, but you can actually live it out now. It's beautiful. Okay? Fifth thing, lead with humility. I used to think, like, we've all heard it. It's like head of the house. I'm the head of the house. Okay, what does that mean? You're the boss? You get to come home, tell everybody what to do? Sounds like a dictator to me. Where being the head of something, a true leader has a huge element of humility, where they know how to serve. And you actually realize, like, it's in the serving that you actually win the respect. And you actually gain true authority when you have respect, because now they're not just obeying you because they're scared. They're obeying you because they respect you. And people respect people that have a humble servant's heart. And that is actually not weakness. It is power. So as I've learned to come back into these relationships in my home, whether it's with my wife or my kids, and have a servant's approach, a servant heart's approach of like, I'll actually do the dishes tonight. It's as simple as that. And then I do the dishes, and then my boys see me do something that they know I don't technically need to do, and guess what? It inspires them. And I taught them a message with my mouth shut by my actions, by serving. So I actually am teaching them the same lessons in all these moments of life now. And I could go on with example and example and example. It's just a very simple one of like how my actions are teaching my boys these messages in a powerful way that I had wanted to teach them their whole life. But it was like a lot of talk without the walk. And so now through my serving, it's teaching them all these messages. It's incredible. So leading with a servant's heart. And with that is going to come some sacrifice where, as a father, fatherhood to me, it's a calling. It's like a responsibility. So when I come into the weekends with my kids, and maybe as just a man, an individual, I want to like go do some stuff with my buddies or go do this. It's like if the fatherhood piece is my top priority, then I'm going to be willing to sacrifice maybe something that I want to do and like connect with my family and connect with my kids and just like almost it's like I'm feeling like I'm missing out because I'm doing something or I'm not doing something that I want to do, but I'm doing the better thing by just connecting with my kids. And there's a sacrifice piece in that, which could tie into like the servant's heart, like the humility. It's like, no, that's cool. I was going to go do this, but you know what? Like you got an event over here. Like I'm going to go support it and I'm just going to sit there. And you know what? I'm going to be bored. You're not saying this out loud, but you're like, I'm going to be bored. This is going to suck. But when I'm driven by this value system and this idea of like, man, this is how I'm going to have the greatest impact on my kids. And as a father, that's what I want more than anything. Like I'm always going to be able to get time back for myself. I believe that. Especially if I honor these principles. Like I personally believe when I have a servant's heart with my family and I come in with humility and I'm willing to sacrifice some things that maybe I want to do for the greater good of my family and my boys, like I believe God's going to bless me. And I believe he's going to give me that time back and it's going to be like I didn't even miss out. And that's where my faith piece is always threaded into everything I do because I don't know, personally without that, it would just feel like a loss. If I don't believe there's a higher power, if I don't believe God's up there, like seeing that principle and like, I know he's going to honor that. Then for me, you're just kind of like, yeah, well, hopefully this ends up working out for me. But when I trust him and I trust the principles, I can lead my family with humility. I can lead my family with a servant heart and know that I'm going to go to that event, be bored, like let go of something I wanted to do. And it ends up rewarding me way more than like going, maybe if I went, I'm not a golfer, but just the first thing that came to my head, like I wanted to go golfing with the boys or I wanted to go on a ride or I wanted to go do this. And guys, what I'm not saying is that we don't have time for ourselves. I hope you hear the principle I'm trying to make of like, leading with humility, leading with a servant's heart. The last point is to point them past you. So I think about the example I have is, Colby, my son, works here at Shine Supply. For the first 10 years, I grew this company by doing Instagram stories. And they were raw and just off the rip. And, when Colby came in, he had like a natural talent with the media and it was way beyond what I had the ability to do. And rather than let that intimidate me, or hurt my ego, it's like, this is amazing. Like, you're way better than I was as far as like presentation. So what I can do is I can like stay back here and like make sure I'm teaching the character piece and the principles, because we're not just trying to do marketing. Like, yeah, we want it to look fancy and all that, but we want to protect the heartbeat. All right, so I'll just keep teaching him the heartbeat, but I want him to go way past where I had the ability to take this. And that's where the last piece as a father, that is I'm learning just to check my ego, where it's like, this isn't about me and like what I built, and like, it's like, I want my kids to go farther than I did. So like, I can lay the foundation by everything we've talked about today, but I want my kids to go farther. I mean, I wrote this down. It says, your job is to prepare them to lean on God, not just you. You know, I want my kids to be so built up in their character, in their confidence, in their courageousness, to be able to lean on God and lean on who they're supposed to be as individuals, not lean on me or lean on what I think they should be doing. Or, I mean, I'm not a college person, sorry, whoever, but what school I should think they should go to, or this is the career path that I think you should do. It's like, yeah, if they ask me my opinion, I'm happy to tell that. But at the end of the day, as I build myself into the man that I'm supposed to be and model that, like, that's the best way that I can have any type of ability to influence them, where they're coming to me and they're saying, what do you think, Dad? Like, what do you think I should do? And so it's pointing them past me, like, releases that control piece. Like, I'm not trying to control my kids. I'm not trying to control my boys because of my fears. I can genuinely release them to be who they were supposed to be, and just be that support system as I continue to invest in myself through all the value systems that I talked about in a previous episode. Like, that's how I can be that staple pillar in their life that they know is there to support them as they like run way further than I did in life. And that's what I want. Like, that's what we want. We want our kids to go farther. So if they're to go farther, maybe the metaphor today, friends, is I got to be a firm foundation for them to stand up on. Like, I got to be something solid so that they can like stand up on. And if you heard my boys in those episodes, the repair that's happened between me and my wife, and that the stronger that relationship has become, that is one of the greatest securities that they have. So any of you parents out there that have gotten stuck in the cycle of prioritizing your kids' relationships over your relationship with your wife or your husband, like, I encourage you to address that, because that's not actually making your kids feel safe. The safety that is happening in my adult children right now is because of the dynamic that's happening in me and then between me and my wife. Like, they'll tell you that. That's what's making them feel safe. And that's not, I mean, just to wrap this up, that's something that I was late to the party in learning. I always prioritized my relationship with my boys over my relationship with my wife, because at the end of the day, because I had a fear of rejection and abandonment because of how I grew up, I parented my boys out of that. So because I was always afraid deep down of abandonment and rejection, of course I was going to prioritize the boys over Angela, because the priority was like, make sure the boys like me. Make sure the boys love me. Make sure I'm always good with the boys. And that would cause me to be divided with Angela on decisions we would make, on discipline, or any kind of decision. We would always be split. Because I would prioritize my connection with the boys over my wife. And I caused my wife a lot of grief over that. And we've had a lot of healing as she's seen me say no to the boys in certain areas and yes to my priority being her. And I've had my boys come back and say, I actually appreciated that. Even though that kind of pissed me off, Dad, like, I actually appreciate that. Like, I respect that because, like, it feels safe to see you and Mom close. So, parents out there, future parents, your best work that you can do is on yourself and then on your relationship with your partner. And that will bring the boys stability. Like, if me and my wife hadn't made it, for one, I wouldn't be sitting here and my boys would be completely fractured. Am I saying like they wouldn't make it in life? Absolutely not. Like, we see kids of divorced parents function, but I think if we peel back how they feel inside and what they're having to navigate because of that, I think it would break a lot of our hearts. And so parents, prioritize your relationship with yourself, not in a selfish way, but I love the scripture in the Bible that says we love others as we love ourselves. And I wrestled with that for a long time because it's like, how do you love yourself? Like, that just seems like weird. Like, loving myself, it seemed a little like, I don't know if narcissistic is the word, but I don't know. It was uncomfortable to even say, like, love myself. But if I could define that as loving myself is like investing in myself emotionally, mentally, spiritually, because work-wise, for me, I wake up, I'll do that in my sleep. I wake up to it. That's easy for me. Working hard and providing financially for my family, like, I will do that with my eyes closed. It's just in me. It was ingrained in me. All these other things I have to be really intentional and work at. And so that's what I'm learning in this season is like, okay, that's how I love myself, is honoring my values and not letting the noise of life and the distractions that we're in right now derail me from those value systems. Because as soon as I get off those, I'm not loving myself. And so then all my relationships, primarily my kids and my wife, is an overcompensation from this deficit I live in emotionally and mentally. So love yourself, invest in yourself, honor your values, become a safe person within yourself. And that's the best piece that I could share with you all today about fatherhood is become a safe person, love yourself, invest in yourself, and then you will properly know how to love your kids. Okay? Appreciate you guys listening. Keep pulling. We'll see you.